Hey, how's it going everyone? Here with the S.H.Monsterarts Iris. Oh man, this thing is a beast. Earlier today, the Gamera Rebirth retail release came out. For there was a massive box, but yeah, that looks tiny in comparison to this. Beautiful art on the box. Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar who Iris is, basically like me actually, I haven't seen the movie yet. I keep running out of time, but Iris is the I guess it'll be the big bad boss from the Gamera 3 movie, which came out in 1999. So last month or the month before, the re-release of the 1999 Gamera came out, which is really cool. Love this figure. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the review, but definitely I feel like it is a must-have. And from what I've had a look at this so far, this is looking like it's probably my favourite MonsterArts, and may even topple Biolante, who I'd say is probably similar in size. So yeah, I posted a couple of photos on Instagram earlier. I haven't really connected anything up. It was just a few shots of the base torso, because there is a lot for this figure. So obviously we've got the main body of it, and there's all the tentacles, the powered up form with those like dorsal fins that look beautiful. So yeah, definitely looking forward to popping this out in a moment. So yeah, that's basically it for the box. So on the back we have the obviously images here showcasing what it comes with. So yeah, let's just pop it open and check out the inner packaging and then slowly put it together. So the packaging is in two parts actually. So the main part on the front here, we have Iris in the center, along with the tentacles, whips, or the appendages that attach. It seems like we've got the blade parts. I'm not really sure where all of these connect, so we'll probably have to refer to the manual for that. But yeah, so lots of little bit small, tiny parts, so do be careful then when popping this open. Then on the back side we have all the stand parts, because there is, I believe, one arm to kind of hold up each one of the dorsal fins, and there's 4 of these which are located on either side. And definitely looking at this, it seems like you can actually see through it. It has a lovely kind of purple metallic-y blue colour going through, and I'm pretty excited to get this set up. I think it's going to look beautiful, especially with some lighting on it. So yeah, let's start with the main body, and then we can, I guess, slowly work through adding on all the different parts to build it up. So first aim, I guess, is the base form here, and it looks like those spears actually open up on, I guess they're his tails, I guess, or weapons. So that looks really cool. So we'll start with that, and then we'll upgrade it into the final form with those fins. Even the stand looks pretty intense to make up, so definitely need to refer to the instruction manual. Okay, so I've got the main body here out of a packaging, and even down here we have like little tape wrapped around to protect all the paint, and there is a lot going on with this figure, but man, the finish is beautiful. Lots of you know, weathering, the different colors coming through, the silver, a bit more of a goldy color, and then all the transparent parts like the blue here, even I think the yellow in the head is transparent as well. So definitely looking forward to getting a close look of every little part of this. But first we need to attach the 4, I wish I knew what they were called, but I'll just call them his tails, I guess. So the 4 tails I'll attach on, and we can check it on the turntable and get a close look at the finish. Okay, so that was a little bit of a mission to connect everything on, but man, he stands beautifully by himself. But for long-term posing storage, we do have a stand. So actually there's a few different attachments for us apparently. I guess some will be from the main dorsal fin parts later, but this one here can attach on underneath. It does have a small joint there, so it can just rest underneath the crotch section there. to keep an eye, so you don't have to worry about him falling over in an earthquake or anything like that. But at least for now we can just leave him standing on his own 2 feet. Now the for, what was I going to call them, tails, right? So it's easy enough to match up. You just match the colour and pattern with them. So this one here starts with a little circles and they just clips on, so they attach pretty easily actually. This one here is a little bit fiddly, it's just a little bit hard to get to due to all the parts, but these actually do move as well, which is great. But we will take a look at the articulation and remember first, just taking that finish, all that little gold yellow colour on top of the dark red, peachy, fleshy, reddy, orangey colours, the blue, the silver, everything like that is lovely. It definitely comes through, lots of detail on it, and the way the transparent blue parts capture the light is lovely. You know, it definitely is a nice figure to look at. It has that beautiful looking finish, and that silver on the back is great, especially with all the detailing in there on, I guess it would be the wings, or kind of like the scaly parts on there. It looks really cool, and it captures the light beautifully. The little wee yellow ball parts on the end there on his tails is great, and I mean these actually move as well, so lots of high detail on this figure, and you know, it looks really cool. And it goes all the way down to the feet as well. So yeah, overall definitely is a beautiful looking figure. It's an awesome design. I definitely love the look of the boss itself, which is really cool. But yeah, let's pop them off a turntable and we can check out the points of articulation before switching out the parts into its final form. So starting with the head neck area here, I mean we have several parts that can move, but we get the left and right tilt without too much issue. He can look up and he can also look down, which is cool. And the back feathers here, or feathers I guess, scales, they move as well, which is awesome. I don't know, the mouth doesn't appear to open up or anything like that. It is just all one closed solid part, but it's definitely cool how you can look through the other side and that gap on the head. Now for the shoulder area, again these outer spike wing parts move, which is really nice. But I will say this is a very fiddly figure to try to get a nice, you know, firm grip on to move without putting pressure on other delicate parts. But the shoulder joint in here moves around a little bit. We do have a bit of an elbow joint there. We can move the arm back without too much issue, but I can't really go up too far due to the oval design. Maybe you can get a bit more motion if you twist and turn it around, so there we go, that will move like so. But it definitely is a very fiddly figure, so take your time get it into the right pose, because at the end of the day you don't want to break anything, because there is a lot going on, and compared to other figures definitely is harder to grip. So while it isn't super fragile, I definitely recommend being a lot more delicate with this compared to other figures. Now into the torso area, we have a little bit of motion left and right, and the upper part will move slightly and the lower part will move a little bit too. But due to his design and all the parts on there, I don't think you'll be getting too much out of it. It'll be mainly in the static pose, I feel. Now the leg here will move up and down pretty well. The joints feel pretty smooth and easy to move. And then the knee joint is pretty decent as well. It kind of reminds me of the Monster X release. Oh, that popped out. Okay, so if these come off, don't worry, there is a slot in there, so this can pop back in, like so. Now with the lower foot, it can twist up and down and around, and move kind of individually of each other. Now, as I did mention earlier, like the other parts, it is a little bit fiddly to move all the individual parts, but if you take your time, you can kind of subtly adjust them to get to the position that you need. Now moving on to the back part here, each of these individual wings will move, which is really cool. So this one will go up and down, so these go in and out and kind of subtly twist a little bit, and same with the lower part. So that is really cool. So we do get lots of points of articulation here, so you can adjust the pose slightly to get more dynamic. poses out of this figure if required. So into the tail parts, each one of these is very similar. If you've got Biollante, it's very similar to that, but we have quite a few points of articulation all the way down, and just like Biollante, they do kind of pop out at times, but they hold their pose really well, and I was quite impressed. You can actually hold it up without it drooping on the ground completely, so as you can't quite see on the camera here, but there's about a centimetre underneath this tail before it touches the ground, which is nice. And that articulation goes all the way up to the top. And then for this part here, these actually open and close as well, which is really cool. Oh, there's a bit far. Let me pop that back on. But there's a little wee ball joint there. So the fact that these open and close is really cool. So with all those points of articulation, even without the use of a stand, you can still get him standing up really well, and the tentacles do kind of help keep him balanced forward if required, though he does hold that weight really well. While the arms are a little bit fiddly to kind of posing into the right spot, you can twist each part around to kind of get it to where you want for the look you're after. Though, compared to other figures, you're not going to get too much of a dynamic pose, I feel, but if you do, please share a photo and tag me in it, because I'd love to see what awesome poses you guys are all able to come up with this figure, because even in a base standard pose like this, he looks beautiful. But yeah, I think we can switch over now and start attaching on those wings, because they look amazing. I want to check out the detail for those. Okay, so this is one of those wing parts, and check out the colour on that. We've got a lovely blue, kind of a purple in there as well, and just the way the light captures each of those ribs is amazing. We've got all the details down on the side as well, and then on the end here we do have these peg holes where we can attach the, I guess, the weapon on there, the blade. So slot this on. Okay, so I've got them attached now. I'm not sure which way around it's meant to face, but if this is incorrect, we can swivel it around later to line up correctly. Okay, whew, 5 hours later, finally have it on the stand with those beautiful wings there. He's fully transformed. So one thing I didn't realize, if I'd seen the movie, I probably would have, but his legs actually bend up, and then you switch out the claws that were there before, and it switches into these nasty blades here, and on the back we pop off the I guess medium-sized claws and pop on some small ones so it can bend up and over. The I guess tail whip things pop off, and you can put on these beautiful looking wings, and he looks so cool on here. The other part I want to point out is for the stand we switch from the smaller stubby one to the longer one for going underneath him to hold in this pose. It was a little bit loose, so I had to get a screwdriver and just tighten up the bolt in that stand there just so it would hold the weight a bit better. Now I would recommend popping these off, changing the legs, get into position, and then pop these. Actually, so what I would recommend doing if you're getting this, pop the wings off, just have nothing on, transform the legs, give into the right pose, and organize the stand into the position that you like. From there you can pop on the wings, start off with the lower ones first, and then you can tilt the stand down and then balance the upper wings on it. Otherwise it is a little bit fiddly. One of my knees, the joint was a little bit tight getting into position, so it took a little bit of time just to work it into the right spot there. But overall, despite it taking a little bit longer, I think the second time you do it will be a lot faster. This here looks amazing, and I really want to display it like this in my shelf, but I don't actually know if I can even fit it in my display case like this. So I may just need to go for these ones for the display, but I will have a play around later and see. This does seem like it rivals the 2019 Godzilla King Ghidorah. So yeah, definitely a badass looking release. So I guess that means we can jump into the pros and cons, and the pros being this finish is beautiful. All the colouring is lovely, the silver, the blue, the peachy, really orangey colours throughout it. Everything and it works well to tie it all together for a beautiful looking figure. Maybe one of the nicest looking Monster Arts. Actually, maybe not quite as nice as Biollante. Biollante is still top for me, but this is probably going to be a close second, along with maybe the Shin Godzilla 4th form version and maybe Head Order. But yeah, overall, definitely a stunning looking figure. It has a pretty decent range of articulation, and the the wings and those tail whippy things do hold their position really well, which is great. My only real downside with the articulation is the kind of knee a little bit limited, and those arms are pretty finicky to use, and the articulation is a bit more limited underneath the shoulder joint. However, for what we lack in articulation in that area, we do make up for with all these little wings, and you have the spine area and all those cool little details there. How they can move is really good, and the fact that on these as well, open and close, so lots of detail and points of articulation on this figure. So yeah, I mean, it's a stunning figure. The cost though, ooh, it is expensive. I understand why it's that price. Still a bit torn if it was really worth it in the end. Maybe if it was about 5,000 yen cheaper, it would definitely be a lot better. It'd definitely tie in more with Biollante and so forth, but lately figures have been getting more expensive. So this probably does tie in closely with the increased prices that we're seeing lately. But yeah, definitely drop a comment below what you think about this release. Your thoughts on the pros and cons on it as well. And, oh, I actually forgot. We do have Gamera here for a bit of a size comparison, and yeah, I mean, torso wise pretty similar, but by the time you take into account all the wings, definitely a noticeable difference there. But these two paired together, definitely a fantastic matchup and will look awesome in any collection. But yeah, I will be taking some photos over the coming weeks when I get the chance, and I'll be posting those on Insta, so keep an eye out for those. And yeah, again, drop a comment below what you think, and thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheers.